stay seated. We don't need Do you mind if I have you introduce yourself before we start? We are them. Just because we're on stage, like, doesn't mean we're not.
Oh, I see.
Them.
Sure.
That's why I say so much. Like, oh,
can I shout out San Diego? I'm just kidding.
Who?
Yes. Can I shout out San Diego?
Do it. Sure, why not?
Well, we don't have to. But... Okay. You need a rep. Oh.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi again. I hope the break helped in some way. I see coffee. Obviously, people got to stretch. That's good. Run to the bathroom, all that. So if we could just settle back into a seat. I hope y'all are sitting near some people you've never met before. Like I said, I don't know for sure, but I really do hope y'all took that challenge on. So if I can ask everyone to just settle into the space, and if we can finish our conversations and then get started on the next session, that would be great. I see people are still coming in. All right, great. If I can get everyone's attention, if we can just settle down so we can get started. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, great. So again, I'm Larissa, and this is Giselle. We are now joined by another guest star, and I will let her introduce herself before we jump into this next session.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, my name is Nedy Velazquez, and I'm the Advocacy Corps Coordinator. Yeah, my pronouns are she, her, and I was actually a former alum for the Advocacy Corps in 2020. I organized on immigration work. Shout out to Karen. And also shout out to San Diego and Central San Diego. Yeah, Northern San Diego. So we love that. Thank you. All right.
And Nedy is now our Advocacy Corps coordinator. So you're going to hear a little bit more about the Advocacy Corps. This is a program that hires young adults to organize in their communities, to lobby their members of Congress. And this following cohort that we're hiring over the summer, they are working on this issue. So if you're interested in continuing this work, Nedy is around. She has a button that says, ask me about the Advocacy Corps. And there will be some workshops where you can learn more about that program in case you're interested in joining the Advocacy Corps cohort. And again, just continuing your advocacy with us. So thank you, Nedy. All right, we just heard a lot from our wonderful speakers. Thanks again to Jose, our Director for Justice Reform, and the three speakers on the stage from Safe Streets, Baltimore, letting you know what kind of work they do, why it's important, what it looks like. And we knew it would be important to have that foundation going into this work because not everyone knows what violence interrupter programs are. Not all of our legislators know what violence interrupter programs are. So now we can really be in the position of educating our legislators, making sure they know what these programs are and why they're successful and why they should be supported. So when you're lobbying on Tuesday, there's a couple things that will happen. We're going to go over the full lobby visit tomorrow. There will be a full training where you will actually get to practice what you're saying in your visit, how long it takes, what you're supposed to say. We will make sure you're fully prepared and you're feeling confident. But for now, we want to dive into one piece of the lobby visit, and that is the storytelling that occurs. So what are stories? Stories really are an answer to the question of why do you care about this issue? That sounds really simple, right? You are here because you care about this issue. Now you have to verbalize why it is that you care about that issue. And sometimes you might never have been asked. You might never have put that into words. There are issues we work on where I know I care about them, and as soon as I sit down to write my story, I realize, oh wait, I gotta really think about what I want to say here. What is my story? We all have one. It's just about finding it, forming the words, developing the story, and we're gonna make sure that you're able to tell your legislators why you care about this issue. And one of the reasons stories are important is because while there is a lot of information out there, we have a leave behind for you, you have statistics and numbers and things that you can point to in our leave behind, what really breaks through kind of the big, I would say, almost like salad bowl of information, there's so much, is the stories that we tell. People don't often remember what you say to them exactly. They might not, but they will remember how you made them feel. And our stories remind legislators that there are people at the end of their policy decisions. We are those people. There are people not in this room that are affected by these decisions. And they, as legislators, represent us. So it's incredibly important that we are telling them why we care and that we are bringing them into the conversation so that they can make the decision we want them to make, advocate within their role as a Congress member for this issue, right? Our stories are powerful. I cannot express that enough. You do not have to be an expert in an issue to tell a powerful story. We did get information. There will be information provided on paper. But if your story is the one thing that you say in a lobby visit, you will have influence to that member of Congress. I promise you that. So right now we're going to make sure you know what that story is and what you're going to say. In order to form our stories, we typically go over examples. And we will say, there are 3 types of story, and these are the types, and these are the examples of what those types could sound like. But with this event, we wanted to try something a little bit different. We will go over the 3 stories in a bit, but before we jump into examples, we want to give you all a chance to reflect. And so I'm going to pose a kind of, I keep saying the word challenge, but I'll say a vision here. We're going to vision together. We're going to imagine together what a world without violence would look like. What a world would look like where the root causes of violence have been addressed. And why are we going to sit and think about this? What's the point? Well, like we've said, we are a Quaker organization, and we do believe in reflecting, in listening to that inner voice, and we do believe that contemplation, reflection, before you take action, will only make that action more effective, will only help you feel grounded in your purpose for that advocacy and for that action. So when you're sitting there, we're just going to do 3 minutes. While you're sitting there, I want you to just listen. Listen to what's going through your head. Listen to your body. How are you feeling as you're thinking about what a world without violence could look like, and what a world could look like where the root causes of violence have been addressed. So we're going to reflect for 3 minutes, and then we'll do some sharing. I'm going to set a timer so I make sure I keep us to it. And we will get started. So again, imagine a world without violence. Imagine a world where the root causes of violence have been addressed. We're right about at the halfway mark. It's not just about what you're seeing in this world. What does that world sound like? What does that world feel like? What would you feel like living in a world without violence? And if you have pen and paper, feel free to write as you're reflecting as well. So just about another minute. Thank you, friends. So for the next 5 minutes, I want you to turn to the person next to you. Share what came up. How did you feel? What values rose up for you? Real quick, if you're in the online audience, feel free to share in the chat what came up for you. How are you feeling? 5 minutes.
Oh, they can hear us. Okay, good.
Yeah. I need to clear my throat. I hope. I'm gonna kind of fix my dress right now. Okay, I forgot the script. What, like, my vision?
No, we're not gonna.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yes.
This is great.
I kind of have to sneeze, but it doesn't come.
Oh no, your eyes are watery. Okay.
Honestly, if we're gonna talk about the exercise real quick, I almost couldn't imagine a world without violence. I was like, wow, what does that feel like? I guess violence, like the possibility of violence, makes going certain places or being like alone at night, for example. right, thanks everyone. I know y'all are having some great conversations. Just finish your thought and then come back to the space. Thank you. I love seeing all the hands moving and all the nodding. It looked like some good conversations. So thank you all. That was my signal. I'm gonna sit back down. Okay, so we're gonna talk now about, okay, you reflected on your values, you imagined this world that I described, but we're still not quite at the what is your story part just yet, right? Hopefully that exercise helped get you all started, helped get your mind thinking about why you care about interrupting violence, about violence interrupter programs, about preventing violence, addressing violence at its root cause, right? So we're going to now go over the types of story. And I want to be so clear. If you've worked with me before, you hear me say this all the time. The stories are not like cut and dry boxes that you need to fit in perfectly. They are just guidelines. If you're having trouble framing your story or finding the words, hopefully these examples and the types can put you closer to that end goal, right? Some stories actually embrace all three of the types. Your story is never wrong. Your story is yours. Again, these are guidelines to help you. So the first type of story we'll talk about is one related to values or identity. So that is kind of the exercise that we just went through, right? What values lead you to care about the issue? And and maybe there's a piece of your identity that goes hand in hand with your values and helps inform why you care about this issue. So to model a story based in values and identity, we're gonna have Giselle share her story.
Yes, so if I was in a Texas office, I would start like this. So I'd say, hello, my name is Giselle López Estrada, and I am from Dallas, Texas. I am here because it is important for me to ensure that all my community members have the opportunity to experience safety. This safety can only be attained through the investment in community, not in the investment of oppressive structures. I'm here because we deserve better. My community in Dallas, Texas deserves better. We need our government to choose to treat us with dignity, to treat us as communities with agency. Only then can we begin to create un mundo mejor, a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. So the next type of story that we'll go over is one that's, we call it like the turning point story, which is exactly what it sounds like. There is a point where maybe you first learned about a problem or an issue, or you first realized that an issue was an issue. Maybe you witnessed something. Maybe you, like I said, learned something in a class. Maybe your turning point is literally being at this event. Like that could easily be your story, right? So to model a turning point type of story, we're gonna have Nedy share hers.
Cool, all right. Hi, my name is Nedy Velazquez. Thank you so much for having us. I'm lobbying here today because I want more funds invested into my community. I immigrated to Escondido when I was 7 and lived there until my recent move to DC this year. Not long after immigrating to the United States, circa 2004, I remember hearing from community members that Ups and Downs, our city's beloved skating rink dating back to the 1950s, was closing. This closure may not have meant much to others outside of our community, but to us, it meant losing one of the few accessible congregational spaces for kids, teens, and young adults. For me, it also meant that for the first time, I had internalized the complexities and nuances regarding resources and accessibility for people like me. At the time when this happened, I didn't have the language to express the disproportionate impact that not having community-led spaces had on me, or how living in a city with a large BIPOC population, 52% of it being Latino and low income to be exact, had on me either. But throughout the years, I began to see a common thread between limited resources, rise in youth violence, and militarized police presence. It became increasingly clear to me that funding community-led programs and investing in them was the answer, or at least part of it. I wanted to be engaged and involved, but as it was, opportunities were not readily or easily available. It's clear to me that our communities not only need programs like this, but also want them. And we know that informed intervention and prevention significantly reduces violence while creating opportunities for people to connect with their community. Thank you. And also, I do want to add, so for stories like this, and just stories in general, you are allowed to have your story with you. Like, I do want to reiterate that when you are with legislators, that, you know, we're human, we make mistakes, and we don't always know our stories verbatim, right? Like, it's good to have a condensed version of it. So if you're comfortable to take your, you know, sheet of paper, just as I did, to do that, that's perfectly okay. So just wanted to emphasize that.
Thank you, Nedy. Mm-hmm. And the last part, or the last type of story, which we actually usually start with because it tends to be a story that comes to people very quickly, or when you think of story, you usually think of this type. So we wanted to start with the other two, but now I'm referring to impact stories. When you hear what is someone's story, it's so direct to think, okay, this issue must have impacted me for me to have a story, and that is not true. You can have stories that are not related to an issue impacting you, or you having been impacted by any part of the topic at hand, right? So the couple cautions we have about impact stories, first of all, if you really are personally impacted by any issue, telling your story of impact can be difficult. That can be heavy, and sometimes you might not feel comfortable doing that in an office. You do not have to share anything that you do not want to. That's another reason that we talk about the other ways to form your story, because we want to give people space to share what they want and share what they're comfortable with. Depending on the topic at hand, it could even be a matter of safety, right? And we want to make sure people have those options. The other caution with a story related to impact is that it might not be an impact of yours. It might be your friend, it might be your family, it might be your community. You hear stories like that often as well. Oh, well, my friend, this happened to my friend, and I really care about my friend, and that's why I'm here to tell you about this. That is okay to share as long as you've done two things. First, always ask permission if you can share someone's story. Never share someone's story without getting their previous permission. And even if you have gotten permission, number two, make sure you're never sharing IDs, only ideas, okay? Never share anything that tells that person who is that story from, any identifying factors, because again, they're not there to share it on their own. So you want to honor that, share their story with their permission, but make sure that you're only giving the ideas and the general themes of the story, as opposed to anything too specific that might identify that person. Again, it's not only a matter of respect and consent, but it's also about safety and making sure that the stories we share do not put anyone in any sort of danger, discomfort, etc. So let's review one more time. We have values/identity, exactly what it sounds like. A value of yours leads you to care for this issue. There's one related to a turning point. There is a moment that you learned about an issue or you witnessed something, and that was your turning point for caring about the issue. And then finally, stories of impact, which I just went over. So we're actually going to practice one more time. We just talked values with each other, right? It was a little more general, and now I want you all to get more specific. Think about these three types. Is there one that speaks to you the most? As soon as we said it, you were like, oh yeah, that's definitely the type of story I have. Hopefully this was helpful, and you all in the next, I'm gonna say 5 minutes, start forming what the story actually sounds like for your visit. Knowing that the visit is like 3 days from now, there's still time to get it together. Does not have to be perfect, but let's get that process started. So let's do 5 minutes again with each other. Figure out which type of story feels right to you and start crafting it in that way. Get out your laptop, your pen, your paper, whatever you want. Remember, you can write it down if that makes you more confident in telling it. So talk to your partner, and we'll come back and share with each other as a larger group after that. So 5 minutes. Thanks, everyone. All right. Just again, finish your thought and then come back to the main space. Thank you all. Again, I saw lots of good conversations, some people writing things down. I hope this was a good start to the process of getting your story written out or, verbalized, maybe for the first time. We have so much more content and time to go over these things in the next 2 days. So there will be more that you can add to your story, or there can be more perspective that might shift something you say in your story. Who knows? But at this point, I'd love to hear from the room a couple stories that you're comfortable sharing now. It does not have to be perfect. I would love to encourage anyone who hasn't spoken into the space yet to share your story now. I want to hear from everyone, although it's not fully possible. So make sure that you're raising your hand, and then we have some wonderful staff with microphones who will come to you, and you can either stand up or stay seated. Just make sure that you are saying who you are, your pronouns, and where you're coming from, what group you're part of, and then go ahead and share your story with us. So we're going to hear from 3 people before jumping into our last piece for this session. Who would like to share a story? Okay, I saw a hand right away. Oh, squeezing through. Thank you, Yusha.
Hi. Okay. Okay, my story. So I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. It is an incredibly diverse city. I'm very grateful to have been raised there, and I have learned a lot from the community that I was surrounded with. When I was 11 years old, my neighbor who had incredible mental health issues, I don't know how he was still the ray of sunshine that he was. He battled schizophrenia and many other issues, and he walked to cope with his issues. He was a black man, and he was a tall-built guy, but he was a sweetheart. I've never met anyone that was as kind and loving as he was. But like I said, he walked to cope with his issues, and one day he was walking in our neighborhood, and he was approached by a police that was from somewhere else, I think a different county entirely, and the police confronted him based on his appearance, and he ended up getting shot and killed. And it was something that I never thought would happen in my community. It was something that was just so alien that I saw on the TV, but it never would have happened to my neighbor. So after that, it kind of was just one of those things where I was like, I want to get involved in making this stop, because it shouldn't be happening in any neighborhood, obviously, but I just couldn't believe that it was happening in mine. And yeah, it was something that if there had been someone that was just walking around checking up on him, that knew about his issues and knew that he walked to deal with all of his mental health issues, that they could have just checked up on him and he could have continued his day, but instead he ended up losing his life.
And I kind of want to take a deep breath in between these stories. I mean, like I said, we're going to be discussing some heavy things. And that to me sounds like your turning point. And so thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, in the back in a blue shirt.
Hi, can you all hear me? Okay, my name is Logan Jackson. I'm here with Michigan United. Thank you all for being here and welcoming me. I have a turning point story because for a long time, I grew up in East Lansing, Michigan, and relatively speaking, it's a pretty privileged area. It's not super wealthy, but overall it's pretty just well-rounded. And I grew up being like, I don't like politics. I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm embarrassed saying that. But on February 13th, there was a school shooting at my university. I go to Michigan State University, and that's the university where I grew up at. My mom's a professor there. And there were 3 deaths and 5 victims, some of which are still in the hospital. And I'm privileged to say that I am okay, and I had class in the buildings where the shootings were. And so for me, I'm gonna be honest that for most of my life, I just kind of walked because it worked for me, the system works for me. And then I realized that it can happen to anyone, and it happens to certain areas and certain places more frequently, and that is not okay. And I'm here because I had a major turning point that I'm disappointed in myself for waiting until something major happened to me in my community. But with this feeling that I have, I want to make sure that no one ever goes through anything like this again. So thank you for being here, everyone, and I just hope we make the world a better place. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And let's hear from, okay, someone over here. Let's go with the cap. Someone's wearing a cap over there.
Hi, everyone. Do you need me to stand?
Only if you want to.
You said please. Oh, I just tripped in my Crocs because I don't have them on sports mode. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamila Lewis. I'm a young adult program alum, meaning that this is my 6th spring lobby weekend here. No. I'm going to take off my mask because I'm going to sweat and get a little anxious as I speak. So when I joined FCNL, the first thing we talked about was cremigation, and I decided to join their young adult program and decided to do work in 2019 and 2020 about gun violence prevention legislation. So this program, this initiative really impacts me, not only to continue the work that we started in 2019 and 2020 here at FCNL, and also expand it to different communities. It definitely impacts me, and my story is an impact story. In 2010, it was July 11th, free Slurpee Day if you love Slurpees. My friend was in California and went to a teen party, and she was having fun. And there was a person outside who had a rival gang member in there, and they started beefing in the club, like you know, normal stuff that happens. But the beef got really serious, and the guy ran back to his car and grabbed a gun and let off shots inside the club. He ended up disabling one person and shooting and killing my friend immediately. So when we talk about like community violence, this is an important issue for me, specifically because I lost my friend to that, but also because I had the potential to lose my mom from gun violence. In 2017, someone put a gun up to her head and walked her back up the stairs to our apartment. At that time, I was in college, and pretty much threatened to blow the brains out of her head. And luckily, she left that situation also unharmed. So I've been very privileged and lucky to say that, like, my mom is still with me today, and also that I know the direct impact that gun violence has on people. It's not only in like communities where it's mostly people of color. I'm from Reno. There's 2% Black people there. This is happening around the country in our communities, and I appreciate the person who spoke before me because I really wanted to give you a hug. Because you don't think that you'll be susceptible to gun violence until gun violence impedes your life. And I think it's really important to see all the diverse faces that we have in this room talking about how gun violence has impacted their life, especially in their communities. When you see, as one of the person who was sharing their stories with me said, sometimes it's the people we went to school with committing the gun violence, and sometimes we turn on the news, and sometimes those are the same people who lost their lives to gun violence. So I think it's really important where we're coming from this work, and continuously to think about your stories, push in your community, uplift these programs, connect with other people locally who are doing this work. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, let's hear from one more. And I saw a hand back there. and someone pointing to that hand as well. So go ahead.
Hello, everybody. We're here, Sutton Scholars, from Baltimore. Thank you. So, I always cared. I always cared about and trying to interrupt the violence. I always cared. I was brought up in low-income housing, poverty-stricken areas. I never had nobody to show me what I can do. I didn't find out about lobbying until now. And I'm going on 53 this year. Okay. My daughter program said, oh, go up DC and lobby. I said, what's that? It's like, go up there and fight on some issues. Last year, it was immigration. I was here. I was here. This year, let's interrupt the violence. I'm here. I'm just finding out how I can go up and talk to my senators without somebody stopping me at the door, you know, telling me I can't get in. You know, so I'm gonna be here. I always cared from when I was young. I lost friends, lost family members to gun violence. I've been tired of it when I was younger. So I'm here, and I'm standing in the fight with y'all.
Thank you to everyone who shared. I can't say it enough, there will be more opportunities to share with each other. So now we want to tell you where the stories happen in a visit. Like I said, we'll do the actual full training tomorrow, like literally beginning to end, this is how the lobby visit's gonna go, let's practice it. We'll do that tomorrow. But for now, we want to preview what we call the lobby visit roadmap, which is a step-by-step of how a lobby visit is supposed to go, or how we recommend it goes so that you get everything you want to out in potentially a very short amount of time, right? We don't know how busy they are. They might have to go. Who you're talking to might cut the meeting short. So we kind of streamlined what a lobby visit can sound like into this roadmap. And you'll hear where in the roadmap the stories actually happen and where it kind of flows. So I'm going to hand things over to Giselle to go over the roadmap, and you all do have it, so why don't you go ahead and tell them about that?
It should be in your folder, so just pull it out. It's a beautiful page like this. Truly FCNL gold. It is our standard, and we love it. So just pull it out, and let's look at the first page together. I'll give you all a few moments for that. So does everyone have their lobby visit roadmap? Wave it in the air if you're, okay, awesome, yay, perfect. Okay, so if you look at the first page, you'll see that we have a few roles listed. So does everyone see that? So the first role is the most important role, the note-taker role. Not only do they take notes, but they also follow up with the office and they fill out the lobby report back form. Following up with the office is important, but specifically following up with us at FCNL is extremely important because you provide information, vital information, to both Jose and Micaiah to continue to advocate on the issue even after y'all leave DC. Next, we will have the group leader. So the group leader serves as an MC for the lobby visit. They kind of symbolically pass the mic to everyone as they fulfill their roles. Storytellers, they share their stories. And then you will see on the roadmap around here that it says delegation member or delegation members. So this is an opportunity specifically for larger groups for others to participate in the visit. So, someone can do the first ask, and then someone else does the second ask, and then the first thank you, and someone else takes on the last thank you, etc. So then we will now I'm gonna take y'all through like the steps. So first we have the introduction. So introductions are always great because we get the opportunity to find commonality with the member of Congress or the staffer that you are speaking to. Oftentimes you find that their families live in your city, or they attended the same school as you did, or even they attend the rival university, which is usually not a good thing, but I promise me and the staffer, we made up. He's my buddy, but still hook him. Okay, so next, housekeeping. Well, it doesn't say housekeeping on but it says, I think, group leader. But next, we will ask for the time, how much time we have, just to make sure that we adjust if there's a sudden change. And the note taker will need to make sure that they get the staffer's email in order to follow up with them if they already don't have it. Then we will do a thank you. So as a Quaker lobby organization, we want to approach the visit with the intention of building relationships and seeing good in everyone. This thank you doesn't need to be super elaborate. In fact, it can be very simple. Thanking your member of Congress for their service is always a great example of keeping it simple. And then the ask, we are urging Congress to provide at least $20 million in federal funding specifically for violence interrupters in this upcoming spending bill. It's gonna be on your leave behind. And then storytelling, of course, this is where, depending how much time you have, either 1 or 3 people share their stories with the member or the staffer present. And then we will have an opportunity as well for y'all to ask questions. So we want to ask the staffer or the member, do you support the ask? What other information do you need? And then also, what strategies do you support to address this issue? As well as, do you hear from constituents on this issue? So those are examples of questions that you can ask, but you can also, make up your own questions and make it just your own. And then we do the ask again. So repetition is key. And again, the thank you. So keep it simple. I've personally gotten really crafty with mine. I recently thanked Senator Cruz for leading a resolution to congratulate the Houston Astros. Any Astro fans? No? No? Okay. Oh, no. For winning the 2022 World Series. So again, simple, fun, whatever y'all want the vibe to be. And then follow up. So within 3 days, you will need to email the staffer to say thank you, send the delegation list, and the leave behind. And again, you will also need to fill out the lobby report back form after your visit. We will have laptops for y'all at the Lutheran Church, so feel free to go back there after your lobby visit and fill it out real quick. Again, the lobby report back forms is the most important thing that you will need to provide to us. So if y'all have any questions on that, I think we have time for that, correct?
Yes, we can take a question or two if there are any on this roadmap. We cannot stress enough that this roadmap is a step-by-step. Like everything Giselle just said, she just went through step 1, then 2, then 3, and so hopefully you all were following along. We will go over this again tomorrow. We'll go over it actually probably 2 more times tomorrow because this will help you structure your visit. And visits are not always long. Like I just said, the roadmap does assume a visit that is 15 to 20 minutes. So you might have more time than that, and that will be great. If you only have that much, the roadmap should help you still get everything you need into that amount of time. And in case it didn't stand out to you, the stories were right in the middle. there's all this intro, what are we asking you to do? You know, let's just get us, oh, what's your email, how much time, some logistics, some housekeeping. The stories are the bulk of that visit. They are the most amount of time, they are right in the middle, and they are right after you've given the ask, which is, again, we will go over it tomorrow in even more detail, asking Congress to please provide at least $20 million in the upcoming spending bill specifically for violence interrupter programs. So after they hear that, they'll get to hear why you care about that, and then they'll hear the ask again. Repetition is key. I'm glad you said that. You can never say the ask too many times. You want to make sure they know what exactly you're asking them to do. And we've referred to the leave behind a couple times. That is also in the pack that you received at registration. So you pulled out the roadmap. There was also a leave behind, which is our one-pager that you literally leave behind in the office so that they have a bunch of info when you are no longer speaking to them. And you can get copies of the roadmap and copies of the leave behind at the lobby table, which is where registration was. So if you lose this, we made a bunch of copies. We can print more. We got you. Don't you worry. So just don't hesitate to go ask for that. Are there questions or concerns about the roadmap or any other item, non-policy related, that we can answer right now for everyone?
I think I did a good job then.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, so at this point, we are going to transition to the next thing. I'm going to say a couple reminders. So the program is our friend so that we can remember where to be and at what time. Tomorrow, we will have breakfast at 9 a.m., and we will have opening worship at 9:45. The first policy session, we're going to dive into that ask. Why are we asking for that money? Where's that money coming from? What are we going to hear in offices if someone doesn't agree with us? All of those questions will be answered tomorrow, and we'll start that piece at 10:30 a.m. So again, I'm literally just reading from the program. The programming will be here in the ballroom again tomorrow. And before we go, I would like to leave you all with a query. Back to what I was saying about contemplation, reflection, grounding ourselves in our purpose for this work. Let me find it, want you all to think about this when you leave here today, if you join us for silent reflection right after this. And that query is, do your actions reflect your beliefs? So again, do your actions reflect your beliefs? Think about everything you learned today, reflect on this tonight, and we will have silent worship, unprogrammed worship, so similar to what we just did, but for a longer period of time, our Quaker Engagement Manager will explain the details of that. That is going to start, here we go. I had it memorized and then I lost it, 4:30. So that is half an hour from now. If you would like to stay for that, please remain seated. We're just going to transition a couple things. If you are not, it was great to see you today, and we will see you again tomorrow. Happy day one. We did a great job.
Bye.
Thank you.
Not me doing.